right. Business Ventures Podcast. We are with another episode. This is actually episode 8, and I've got Jeff Richfield with me. And Jeff Richfield is not only very successful in multiple businesses, multiple exits throughout his life. Now he's involved with multiple businesses, but most importantly, he's a man of God and always represents him in everything that he does and promotes God. Thanks God for everything that he does. So I greatly appreciate everything you do, Jeff, and I greatly appreciate having you on as a guest. Thank you, Jeff.
Man, I just want to say I'm honored and thank you for having me on. I'm excited to share, passions and things we've gone through in our lives, what led us up to right now. And I'm also involved in events now too, so don't forget that
Hey,
events.
yeah, events, businesses, anything and everything that can help this community or people and other communities, you're heavily involved with. You know, this is, and I was talking to you a little bit before we jumped on about Business Ventures Podcast and our goal for Business Ventures Podcast. It's really to touch entrepreneurs, and whether you're an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, or you fancy yourselves as you want to be there one day, this podcast is for you. No matter where you're at, because of your experiences in life and business, Jeff, you have so much value to give. But depending on who's watching and who's listening, I don't know where they might be at. So I always like to start this with the early years of Jeff. Like, how did you get started? Where did you get started? Where your upbringing, where are you from? Things like that. So that's where I'll start off. Tell me about the early years, right? Was there something
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that created your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, growing up on the East Coast, I guess, a Northeast Coast guy in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Delaware, Maryland. I had a big Italian family. So what I remember about that is the Italian subs and the meatball sandwiches.
Good food.
And I love food, of course. But yeah, growing up on a big estate, I lived on the DuPont estate back in Delaware and a lot of acreage. It's a funny thing. I have a lot of land in my life. Land is through my life, and so Richfield is actually my legacy. So yeah, first started out with 1,200 acres, and I didn't own it, but I lived on it, and it was a beautiful thing. I love the outdoors, and I think that gave me a love not just for creation, but the expanse of land and forest, mountains, and we were really blessed. We had like a little Dennis the Menace community, and there was like, I don't know, 18 homes in this gated community. And I remember it was like Leave It to Beaver. We had Chipper Ramberger was my first friend, and we shot off bottle rockets. Went ice skating in the winter. Grew up with the perfect life. I think it was really entrepreneurial life, actually. My dad, I got that gift from him, and he had started out with IPOs and taking companies public and investor relations in Boca Raton. But I remember that East Coast feeling was we lived in a mansion, so there was always an expansive, I guess, background in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and then the name came with me. We moved from there to it was Las Vegas. Went to high school there for a while, and then that's where I started to play music. That's where I started to play drums, and from there we went to Hawaii, and I'm 21 years old, and we started getting famous. And our band, being in the rocker years, this is the 80s, we played with Aerosmith, Def
Wow.
Leppard, Iron Maiden, Night Ranger. So we got to tour with these big bands. I had the long hair thing going. Uh, so that was the rock and roll lifestyle. Some of that's great stuff, some of that's scary stuff. I lost my brother to drugs in 97, but we had some good times. We warmed up for these bands, got to know, Rick Allen from Def Leppard, the one armed drummer, and get up to see his drum set. These guys still come out and play at Nashville, and I still give them a high five. And so it's amazing they're still playing after all these years.
Wow.
But I guess that's part of what made me as that outgoing, um, you know, I guess seeking business. Then that skill came from my dad, and so after the rock and roll life, met my wife in California. We moved there to get a record deal, and then the earthquake, famous Northridge earthquake, destroyed our house. So we had to get out of town. Gosh, LA's got known for a lot of catastrophes. Like,
Yeah,
at
okay.
any rate, our house pretty much was left in shambles, and we picked Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, because of music, Music City, USA. I thought I could still play drums and get a career there and get a record deal. So yeah, man, it's been an interesting life. I've been around a lot of big places, properties, beach life, of course, surfed in Hawaii, and then always kept myself in shape. So I learned about keeping healthy at about 14 years old, and I wanted to have a Smoothie King. I remember that, my first
Yeah.
business adventure. I wanted to have a Smoothie King before they became Smoothie King. And I always told my mom, Mom, I want a Smoothie King. I want to be a chiropractor, because health consciousness is what it was about. I got the Joe Weider magazine. I started, mentor these guys, mentors like Frank Zane and Schwarzenegger and Columbo. And I just enjoyed that healthy lifestyle, and that stayed with me. So I still enjoy that
You kinda have to have
workouts.
that with that Italian upbringing, all of those
I know,
pastas
man.
and amazing
Yeah,
food.
gotta have it.
You know,
Gotta have it.
I love this, Jeff. I'm learning a lot about you just as we do this, and that's one
Yeah,
thing I really enjoy. So, the Northeast and the East is I've done a lot of work up in the Northeast and the East, and it's a different world. Like people don't realize that
sure.
don't travel that much, they're in their little areas, how different that Northeast is to a Las Vegas.
Oh
So
yeah.
but it's cool that you it seems like you grew up in a higher end area, so you were around a lot of entrepreneurs at that really early age in that Northeast.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
father, with those IPOs and all of that, and maybe neighbors and stuff, were there any mentors that you had from them, or any lessons that you were able to gather from those people that
Great
were around you
question.
that may stick with you today?
Oh yeah, my uncle, Uncle Jimmy.
Uncle
He's
Jerry.
in Delaware to this day, and he has the largest mail sorter in the world. He invented the mail sorting system. So when you get letters that go through the UPS and the USPS, it can read their signatures, track the zip code, and it sorts it into bins. And he does that for the Pentagon, the Fortune 500 companies, like major contracts.
Yeah.
And I still stay in touch with him. So proud of what he's developed. And he's still pumping out new, and these mail sorters are like a football field. They're real long, and but yeah, he's grown, and that came from an idea he had when he got in a car accident. He was laid up for a week, and he started being creative about scanners and optimizing optics.
Yeah.
So he came up with scanning reader, and now you know he's sailing his way to
Wow.
an amazing lifestyle. So he was an entrepreneur in our family. Then my dad. In fact, the last name for them is different because we actually changed our last name.
Yep.
The real name was Malatesta for the Italian family. That sounds more Italian, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Malatesta.
you don't have the most Italian last name, but, hey.
So if you look him up, he was a conquestor in the early Roman days,
Oh,
in some point in history, and it was a free enterprise guy. So that's it right there. I mean, you can change the last name, but the DNA is still the same.
DNA is still the same, you're still an entrepreneur. So, it's in your
Yeah,
DNA, it's in the genes, you can't
right.
change it. You
Yeah.
know,
In fact, I'll give you a little story.
yep,
The reason that
stories,
they
that's what we
changed my
want.
name,
The more stories, the better.
well, here, you'll like this one. Malatesta means bad head. And my mom didn't like that. So I remember at 12 years old, they changed our name legally to Richfield because she said, we won't be seen and respected as much as a Jewish rich person. So we're going to change it to Richfield. That sounds Jewish. So I guess she's thinking about entrepreneurism too
Yeah,
on my mom. I'm a young guy. I'm like, whatever. It sounds kind of cool. We'll change our name. But I went along with it, and here I am. And
that's
we actually
interesting,
have.
and that's advice in and of itself. I mean, growing up, I didn't realize it as much, but now having children, it's like who you are put around and how you're perceived is very important. Like I want my children because you're the sum of the 5 or 6 people you're around. You hear people say that all the time. You want to be around
Come on.
lions. You never want to be the smartest person in the room. You never want to be the best in any room that you're in. You always want to be in these
Yeah.
rooms with people that are better than you. So if I can have my children around those type of people, then that's better. Your mom had the foresight to say, your last name may hinder you. So we're going to change your last name
Yeah.
just to give you every advantage possible. I mean, that's
Isn't that
parenting
interesting?
101, right? What do we
Yes.
do except we're put
Yeah.
on this earth to give our children a better life and more
Yes.
advantages, right?
Alan, since you just said that, you actually just sparked because I used to think it was a shameful thing. Well, we don't like our last name. Why do we have to do this? As a young kid, you're thinking,
Yeah.
wow, what's wrong? Am I something wrong with me? But you just gave light to that, that she wanted us to have the best future. And you are true that you become what you behold. You are what you eat. So if you're around these things, that you're going to mirror that, right? In fact, our house in Pennsylvania was the one that was owned by William Penn, and he was one of the constitutional
Yeah.
patriots who was involved with the Declaration of Independence, William Penn. So I guess even that history, I'm living in this mansion, his paintings are on the wall. We had the big library with tons of books in them. I didn't read the books back then, but it was awesome. And so that followed me, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just cool to experience to hear and see. And then then you transition and you go to high school in Las Vegas. Like right off the bat, many people that like myself that are not from Las Vegas, and I lived my 20s, right, as a roofer, making too much money, enjoying my life,
Wow.
and I've been to Vegas and had a lot of fun a couple times. And what always goes through my head is like, man, I wonder what it would be like to live here, like grow up here. Isn't that hard, right? Or maybe you're blessed. It sounds like you were blessed because of it. So what was growing
Yeah.
up in high school in Las Vegas like? Do you think you would have
Oh
became
boy.
a musician if it wasn't for that Las Vegas lifestyle? Like, do you think that that changed your life or had any
I
impact?
think Yeah, I think musicianship came from my family because my other uncle John, and they had eight, eight uncles and two aunts. And he was a drummer.
Yep.
All right, so there you go. Then the my grandfather was a piano player, and he played in bars. So very musically inclined family. Got that from that. And my mom asked me when I was 7, "What do you want to play when you get older? You want to play guitar or drums?" And I just always felt like a snare drum was cool to have.
Yeah.
I like to hit stuff. So I said, I'll take drums. She went and got that for Christmas. And I didn't really play much until I got out to Vegas. That's when I learned the first song, which was More Than a Feeling, Boston.
Love it.
And then Kiss, So those two albums were hot back then. And then Vegas reminds me of dune buggies, motocross, desert. Because back then in the 78 to 81, when I lived there, it was that way. There wasn't so many hotels. It was like a big expanse. I lived by Nellis Air Force Base. We'd see the jets fly over us, and then we'd try to outrun the police with our, quad and our dune buggies and our cycles. But it was a fun time. Still growing up, going to high school. From then, going to Hawaii is where we got more serious in music.
So
Yeah,
you
a
you
while.
started with the band, and what's really cool is knowing you now and all of these business ventures that you have multiple businesses, you've had and exited multiple successful businesses, you're in the event space. Um, at some point, people talk about this a lot of times when I talk to all my guests, they always say at some point it just clicks that these businesses are very similar. You know, when you break down a business to its core functions, it's very similar. And that's when they've been able to find success in other businesses and they've transitioned into like I call that a zoom out, phase, or that's when you have an epiphany and you really realize that these businesses, you might not have been able to recognize a lot of the fact that this music business or this band is a business when you were doing it. But looking back now, even in your early stages, when you were in
Yeah.
high school in Las Vegas, getting gigs, things like that. Do you think that had any effect? Tell me about that lifestyle, right? It's probably really
Yeah, yeah,
tough
sure.
starting out trying to get gigs
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
do all that.
my mother was the promoter. She really adored the kids. It was guitar. My brother was the guitar player. I was the drummer. My other brother was my roadie. He moved all the
Yep.
equipment. He later became a musician, but she was the promotion. So she would go out to producers for shows. Hey, we got this band called Casanova. Would you like to come? Came in. Here's our tape. She was our best salesperson. She got us into recording studios in LA, some of the best recording studios, like with Motley Crue. I remember Dokken was there, and of course Twisted Sister. So she was kind of our mouthpiece. And then I became the band manager. So I would be the guy booking the shows, making sure the songs sound good, come up with arrangements and song ideas, and then calling people together. The guy that gets on time. Hey man, where you at? Let's get together, planning the future, all those things.
I
So,
love all that.
and
You know, it's
yeah,
funny
yeah,
when
paying for
I was younger, I've always loved music. Who doesn't love music? I think
oh,
everybody loves music. Yeah, we're as a world,
sure.
it's such an amazing function and thing that God has given us. But I love music, but I'm the worst musician you'll ever meet, right? I cannot keep
What do
a
you play?
beat to save my life. I can't stay on beat,
Drummer?
nothing. Singing, drumming, nothing. I'm just awful. And growing up in Texas, where I grew up, I had a lot of really good country singers, really good singer friends, and we actually started a band, and that was my role. I was the band manager.
Yeah,
But it was
yeah.
really cool, like, going and getting them gigs and doing private functions, and we were young, we're teenagers in high school, and I'm getting them
Right.
thousands of dollars to go book a gig, that I had no business getting them that money for or anything, and for us, it was just beer money, yeah, right? It's like,
Yeah.
"Alright,
Yeah, yeah.
we're having a three-kegger
That's fun.
tonight," you know?
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Looking back,
yeah,
from here, looking back, I think I could see that's where I found my ability to empower people because I was always the positive guy. Come on, you can do it. In fact, some of our musicians, time to time, would take drugs and they would not show up for a gig or they would sell our microphone for cocaine. I'm telling you the truth. I mean, the 70s and 80s were hard
yeah,
drug years for all these bands, right? So I had to be the guy, the encouragement, and then I had to direct them and get them, keep them robust and healthy and get on the show, get successful. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So there's some entrepreneurs in there. You're right. It's a dynamic of keeping the guys together as a team.
yep.
That's what I learned
Being that
in
glue,
the band.
that's some of the best compliments I've
Mhm.
ever received from mentors or peers or anybody is like, "Alan, you're always the glue that held the company together," or this or that, and it's like,
Oh, oh, one last thing,
yep,
real quick. I remember now that you brought it up. When I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, my mother would take us boys to a thing called concept therapy. Back then, that was called positive affirmations. And this guy, my uncle, my other uncle, his name was Donnie. He invented this course called concept therapy that you are what you speak. Our thoughts make a difference. And I took that in. I didn't quite remember all the details, but it was about positive thinking. I don't think it was New Ageism. It was just practically how
yeah.
you can achieve a better success. And since you brought it up, now I'm remembering that was a large part of
I love
entrepreneurs.
that, yeah. We do that with my son every night, and, again, I never had that. I mean, that's not a diss against my parents, but we never I don't know, that
Yeah,
wasn't much of a thing. It's crazy that you were exposed to that at such an early age. We watch it now on social media. You see people all the time say, "You are what you are," and I've been
yes,
blessed to hear that from so many people and then enact that in my life and see success. So, like, our kids, before we go to bed every night, they have to say, like my son, "I am Walker, I am brave, I am confident, I am smart, I am," and he lists about 10 to 12 things every single night. "I am Walker."
that's all.
Yeah, and we always do that, right before prayers and then go to prayers, and that's our bedtime routine, you know?
Perfect.
So he
Mhm.
grows up.
And you probably do that yourself, right? You do that on yourself,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
private
oh,
time.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you I'm a very
Self-talk is good.
confident person. I don't need too much more affirmation.
I think it's true, man. And I love the sign behind your dad there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome, brother.
That's
And
everything. I got little
so yeah,
pieces of my life all right here behind me, right?
yes. And we both know people who have not had this self-talk that have unfortunately failed, or some have passed away that they didn't live their life calling because
Yeah.
they maybe didn't get that teaching. So praise God we got that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We're definitely blessed. And so you've got that. You're Hawaii. So what was the conjecture that got you to Hawaii? So that's I don't think of, hey, let's go to Hawaii and grow our band, but I can't think of a better place. You know what's really funny is my father is a little bit older than you, but around these same places. He's actually told me some Hawaii
Yeah.
stories
Yeah.
in the 70s and 80s and California stories in the 70s and 80s. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Uh-huh.
uh,
Well, I'll tell you how I got there.
yep.
It's an interesting story. You brought it up. Some of the hardest parts of our lives that we live give us an experience to get through those hard times with God, as I knew Him then. And then it develops you to have muscles and the emotions and spirit and the physical. So what happened was my mom and dad had separated when I was 12. Complete divorce, shattered the family paradise, if you say. And she wound up taking us in the middle of the night to Las Vegas to escape my father, who was the bad guy in her mind. Turns out it wasn't all true. I'll share that later, but it was escapism. She changed our last name. We changed the name. We went into Vegas with another name. So on the stage, I was Jeff Majors. And
Yeah.
so we assumed this other false name because she was scared that he was going to find us. This is a crazy story, but it's a book. And so my two brothers were sitting in front of the TV in Las Vegas, and she goes, "What last name do you guys want to use? I don't want your dad to find us now." So we're watching a $6 million man, and Lee Majors is on there, and he's bionic. This is the guy that could just run fast. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember that show. So we said, "Let's be Majors." And we all just had fun and just took on this name. Sounds so crazy, right? It's a book story.
I'm telling you.
And so the reason we got to Hawaii is because she found out that he was on our tail. And she said, "Well, we're gonna go to Hawaii, guys. Your dad is on our track." So we packed it up and went to Oahu. She had this amazing ability to provide the best places along the way.
Yeah.
She had a she had a liquor store at one time that she just walked into. She would look at these ads, things for sale. She had the ability to create from thought, really, and personify using the positive thinking course that I am what I am because of what I read and what I accept in my eyes. Anyway, we went up in Hawaii on the beach, Alan, with a gated community. I mean, it was unstoppable.
Wow.
Then I went to Gold's Gym. I started working out Gold's Gym every day. I'd pedal to Gold's Gym, and I became a friend of this leading bodybuilder who had passed away since. But I was like as his support, the guy that watches the weights.
Yeah.
So that excelled me in the training of weightlifting. I'm surfing on the beach in Hawaii. I'm going to Gold's Gym, playing in clubs. I'm 18 to 20 years old, and I thought it was paradise.
That is paradise. I mean, you just named paradise, and
Yeah,
there's so many lessons in that. Like, I could take just being around the bodybuilder and being healthier. I think the healthiest times of my life, when my body's been the healthiest, is
yes,
when I'm around
yeah,
healthy people living that lifestyle.
right,
It's storm dorming. I think it's storm dorming. Chasing hailstorms and staying in a
yeah.
home with all the other sales reps. Uh,
Somehow this gets to being a roofer, right?
yeah.
Somehow,
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that's my life. It relates to being some sort of a storm chasing roofer, and as I grew, I started strategically picking my storm dorms with the people that I knew was going to the gym all the time. So I'd go to the gym with them, and it became routine. And the guys that were spotting me, right, being my helper,
right?
were
Stop.
always I'm
Yeah,
always and I'm competitive, so I got to be better than them. So it's
right.
like, but also I've got a friend who's from Hawaii, and he was like number 9 in the world for, triathlons for a while, right?
Oh wow.
Ironman. And he attributes it growing up in Hawaii because you run, bike, and swim everywhere, every day. Like, so that's the
Yeah,
lifestyle
yeah.
that you're living, and he always talks about it being paradise, and so I know you're
Oh,
living paradise. But the stuff with your mother and changing the name, that is definitely book-like, right? There's there's drama
like
there, there's
Survivor
some
modes.
entrepreneurship there,
Oh,
there's a lot of
big
lessons
time.
there. I think we've talked about this on the show with other guests, and having that growing up, when you grow up, you don't realize what's going on with your family so much. You tend to trust the people and you
Exactly.
don't really know. But then you're older, you're able to look at it with retrospect. But then you also know that all families are pretty messed up, right? Every family's got a book or two, whether they admit it or not. It's
Yeah,
people like
true.
yourself that can admit it, laugh about it, learn from it, grow from it, and grow the people around
Yes.
us from that. That's take those
Mhm,
lessons and empower others and yourself throughout those lessons. That's the key, right?
mhm. Yeah, man, 100%. Those the experiences with best teacher. I remember too in the Hawaii that's where I really dug into music, where I would like listen to Rush and I would slow down the music with the special recorder to hear the drum solos and how he did the beats, like and I go, oh, that's how he did that gig.
Yeah.
And Boston, the Journey, and Kansas, those were the 80s bands coming around. And I just had a love to play in the band and I actually got to play in a band before I was 18 in a liquor bar. I shouldn't have, but I was 17. And then from there, it just journeyed into the big stadiums. So then we're in a Blaisdell Arena in Hawaii with Journey for 3 nights, Def Leppard, because they came to the island and we were the best local band.
That yeah,
So it was
that's
so
what I was
cool.
gonna say. Is it because not to knock you or anything, I'm sure you're very talented, but you probably big fish, little pond strategy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's probably not a lot
Oh,
of really good drummers in Hawaii.
there was a lot of ukulele players.
A lot of ukulele, yeah, yeah. If you had a ukulele band, it
But
might be competitive, right?
so that band, that was Rex Havoc. And then, like I said, we decided to go to LA to get a record deal. And then we wind up with a band house. We're all living together and was it the Valley? And that's where the band broke up and things got sideways in LA on the strip playing the whiskey and the Roxy and geez. So I jumped to 2 or 3 different bands, and each one of those, it was like I got to be well known as a drummer in the city. And that was exciting time too. But my brother, he wound up passing away with that overdose around 90, 95. And so that was a hardship.
Yeah.
So he went with the wrong crowd with marijuana, and that road, cocaine, and I remember finding him in his house in Colorado eventually, the day before he died. Felt the Holy Spirit say, "Go visit your brother," out of the blue. I said, "Jody, I got to go see my brother. There's something going on." I show up. He's basically in a pale state, looking at the TV, and we found about 100 yellow bottles in another room next door, self-medication. Next day, passed away. We tried to rescue him, but that was it. So yeah, I was, and he was like a Randy Rhoads kind of guitar player. He was
Yeah.
so good. It's a sad thing that happens.
It's tough.
Just shows you the life.
A lot of
Yeah.
people of my generation don't really we know, like, drugs and alcohol of from our generation. From talking to people, and I've kind of call me an old soul or whatever, right? I've always been around older generations and talking to my father about growing up in California in that time that's 80s and 90s. Drugs weren't what they are today. It was like it seems like it was readily available and it was normal and, almost like today people smoking cigarettes and smoking vape and stuff. People is just doing cocaine
Right.
in California. Like it's just
Yeah.
it was the norm. And maybe
It
that
was.
maybe relating it to cigarettes might not be, but at least marijuana. Like marijuana is
Right.
most people smoke
Huge.
marijuana today, it seems like. And back then, most people, at least in those areas of California, from what I'm told, were doing cocaine just like
Mhm.
it was normal and there was nothing bad against it. It was almost like normal. So, how do you not get
Okay.
caught up in that? How did you avoid that? What was it about
Wow.
you and your life to be able to
Good question.
transcend through that?
Come on, man. The whole time, a God shield. He really kept me in like a circumference, what do you call, force shield that didn't penetrate that. I had already had that spoken by a father that when they got divorced, another man stepped into my life as a mentor. And he said to me one day, "Jeff, if you keep eating the Coca-Cola things, it's going to put a hole in your stomach." And I remember those words. Then I started getting eating right. Then I got on track with lifting weights. Then I got the Weeder magazine and I just focused on good health, lifestyle, right? So that kept me through, man. At that young age, I learned obedience through sacrifice and through suffering that I can have a good life if I have a healthy life, you know? So then I was the rescuer from those who were doing drugs in the band. Hey, come on, let's get you all rehab to get you out of this mode because your voice is so amazing. Our singer sounded like Steve Perry. I mean, this guy was off the chart. We could have had a major record deal if this didn't happen. Unfortunately, he just kind of lost it. Tried to get him a teen challenge and didn't work out. But so the band broke up eventually, and then I met my wife, and I'm in a recording studio. She walks into a rehearsal. As soon as I saw her, I said, "That's my wife right there." Like the spirit just, said, "Bam."
Yep.
I don't know if you had experience like that before,
Yeah.
where you just know that you know that you know.
Girl in the maroon, that's
You
my
know?
wife, I just, saw her, immediately knew,
Yeah,
absolutely,
perfect.
I can relate.
Yep. And so there, then we kind of dated for a while, and then LA, we bought our first house, and I did that through mutual funds. I learned how to invest in mutual funds. That was a big thing back in the 87, 88, 90, in that area.
Yep.
And so I actually got my deposit, my 20% down by just being a stock trader in ETFs and mutual funds.
Love this.
That was
Savvy, just savvy. And I can already pull relations from your mother's savviness, right? You're
yeah.
traveling around the country on the run, right? And
Yeah, that's it. And on the run.
and working your way into, gated communities, a good lifestyle, and an opportunity. And so how do you not pick that up, right? I guess
Yeah.
they say, wise people learn from others. Smart people learn from their mistakes, but truly wise people learn from others, right? So
Yeah.
you were wise enough to learn from what your mother was doing and take that and go that. You're around these people. You're in LA. You've got opportunity. You hit struggle. The band I relate to a business, early startup
Yeah.
businesses. uh, Everybody's got their talents, and together it creates something, and that something is valuable. But just like anybody that's in mergers and acquisitions, like again, you dabble in that as well, right?
Yep. Yep.
They'll
That's
tell
right.
you that no business is any better than their founders, right? So, and it's all about the
Mhm.
founders. You can have the best product in the world, but if you've got a bad founder, that's going to tank that business. And
Yeah.
so I would relate the band to the same way. So you went through that
Yeah.
failure, and you were able to get
Yes.
savvy in all things of ETFs and monies. I guess my first real question when you say that is, what was that like back then? We have apps for it today, right? How did you trade that stuff? Is that
I
over
called
in person, right?
Schwab.
Did you have to send mail? What is this?
I think I think actually, yeah, I got a monthly strategist of like one of those newsletters you buy, a monthly report. And I would read this and then I would go, how did I get that? It was a phone call. I think it was Charles Schwab or something like that I invested with. And I had an account. I don't know if it was online. I don't remember that. But I do need to tell you, the reason we stopped in the band is because it became a pay to play too much. There were no profits. So when you have
Probably.
no profits for 5 years,
There you
you
go.
might still love your dream, but you got to make a decision. How
Yep.
do you become profitable? So, but we were so good, but still you had to earn your way up the ladder. And we got a small record deal in Japan, but it didn't really make a lot of money. But got the tour there, and that was fun.
There you go.
So yeah, man, interesting. Trading the stocks. I remember that well. I was so excited telling my wife, I just made 20% for a down payment. Let's buy a house.
There you go. Yeah, I struggle with it today. Sometimes I enjoy the Robinhood app and doing the options trading and stuff, but sometimes it's gambling. Like when I do like
Yeah.
options and day trading, the highs and the lows from that to me is just like going in a casino. So I've got to limit myself on it for sure.
Got to have a coach.
Yep.
You just got to have a coach in that stuff. Somebody who's done it better than you.
Yep.
So I learned that's another big lesson in entrepreneurship. Being coached with somebody who's a higher level will bring you up to their level.
I love that. Now, how does that transition into moving to Nashville, to start your music career again? Is there like a
Come on, man.
calling that you have? Is it just this itch that you could never get rid of? What's that like?
No, there was a lot of bumps in the road. For the divorce was a big bump. I lost my dog from that too because we couldn't take my Laddie. I had a dog named Laddie, like just like Lassie. He
Yep.
was a collie, and I love that show, Lassie. I cried my eyes out. We have to leave my Laddie. Anyway, the bump there, and then got to LA, and it was the earthquake. 1994 Northridge earthquake was I think, an 8 point something, and it devastated the whole community. Our house, the chimney fell off. It was scary. It's 3 in the morning. The house was shaking. It lasted for a long time. All the electrical poles were blowing up. Sirens going off. The dogs running outside, and it was terrifying. And my wife had just been pregnant with my first son James, and she was like 7 months.
Ooh.
So we had to sleep outside for the next 3 days. No cell phones. No, and people were missing, and we're wondering what's happening. So that propelled us. We'd already had our eyes on a house in Nashville from the music idea, and we were tired of the Rodney King beatings, the smog, the high taxes, the traffic. For all that, it wasn't worth staying for a family. We wanted to have a good family lifestyle. So we visited Tennessee a year before through a friend, and we decided this is where we want to land. But the earthquake shook us up fast, and we got out of town. I remember like the Beverly Hillbillies coming to Tennessee. We got a
Opposite
U-Haul
direction.
and we
Yeah.
So we moved into a town called Jolton, and so we got jolted to Jolton. That's what I tell people.
Jolt to the jolt. I love it.
Yep. Landed there in 94. Um, I found this house. I was a good finder of real estate and it was land. And I always wanted to have a retreat because I got saved by Christ at 18 in Hawaii at a retreat.
Yep.
And so it meant a lot to me to have land, be outside, like, having that wild man climbing trees, building tree houses was in my DNA. So I came to Nashville a year earlier. I found the house of our dreams. It has 120 acres. And back then, we got a 100-acre farm for the same price I sold my house in LA for, with a half acre. I
Wow.
mean, it was crazy, crazy good. So yeah, for 170 grand, 100 acres with a house,
Wow.
1994.
That's impressive.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then I became a real estate guy again, and understanding the investment side of real estate, houses, and how that grows equity. Then it was, doing refinances. I became a mortgage broker
There you
at
go.
that time. So, yeah.
And that's a
So I
good that
landed.
was a good timing too. I mean, we had a big boom in our country around that
Yes.
time, all the way up until '07, '08, right?
Yes. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's when I got out.
That's when you got
It's
out. There you
basically,
go.
yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
time. Good
We
time
were
to get
sub,
out.
I was a subprime guy. The subprime market fell.
Yep.
And then I'm driving down the road, literally, Alan, and I'm asking God, what am I going to do next? So after a few months of day trading, the Japanese market, I was a Forex trader. I learned how to get into that. Me and my brother developed a system that was called a black box. We could do scalping on Forex. So you just kind of set it and forget it, but you still had to manage it like every
Yeah.
2 hours. And so I got tired of waking up at 2 in the morning, but we were trading about $1 million of people's money at that time
Wow.
because I had traveled to Switzerland and other places and, shared what we had. I got tired of doing that. And I'm driving down the road. I look up in a sign that says roofers for hire. I remember vividly, this is like 2010. And I called it immediately. The Holy Spirit said, call. I did. And then he goes, come on in for interview. And he hired me the same day. I became his roofing angel for a year. And then my wife says, why don't you just do it yourself? This is 2012.
Yep.
And I go, huh, how about Music City Roofers? And it was available. And so that was a great name. Boom. And then we got Music City Solar, Music City Builders from there. And basically grew that company from a one arm paper hanger. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
One arm paper hanger to 35 employees over 10 years. And then we exited last year.
Wow.
Bam.
Wow.
I mean, that's a fast story, but there's a lot of bumps
No,
in the
no,
road on.
it's I enjoy every part of it and every section on it, you know? I wanna hear more about the roofing thing. It's
Yeah.
not for
Yeah.
me, I've seen some of the growth, but that's amazing growth too, right? So,
Yeah.
I want our listeners to hear how that went and how your experiences had things to do with that. So, okay.
Yes.
So, again, not necessarily failures. It seems like your life didn't have a real bottom or failure because of the savviness that you have in you and in this
My mother had that survivor mentality and the
survivor
positive
mentality.
thinking. I would always write in the Bible. I wrote out the book of Ephesians in the first person. I would go out in the field and just declare those things that are in the Bible. I would read Proverbs every day. And I just got full of the word. And I felt him leading me to right places because man has a heart to do things, but God orders his steps, right? And so as I look back, I see he ordered my steps with my
Yeah,
wife,
yeah.
the transition to Nashville, all the big things in my life that were more easy, I know was him. The hard things, Jeff got in the way.
Yep.
So,
Well, I try
but
not to
what?
judge a lot of people for how they handle things, right?
Yeah,
For me, it's like failure isn't failure. It's people talk about, oh, I hit rock
yeah,
bottom, or hit this, or I did this. It's like, no, you just got more opportunities.
yeah.
Something. There's no failure, no loss, and it probably goes back to that positivity that you were talking about, that you grew up with,
Sure
and
does.
God and the spiritualness.
Yes.
And so, like every time something would happen, it's like you're not you're not gonna sit there and feel sorry for yourself and
Yep.
sit on
That's
the
right.
bottom and like, "Oh, man, what do I do now?" It seems like throughout your
Yes.
story, there was no time, there's no law, right? There's no waiting,
Yeah.
there's no decision making. It's like, Okay,
Just,
cool. Let's go do
just
this.
a,
I know I'm gonna make money doing this. Okay, let's go make money doing
yep,
this. And it's like,
yep,
and you can give a lot to that. You can put a lot of weight to that, or you can simply give that, break that down and be really simple and say, just take action.
take
Just take
action.
action. Always take
Yes,
action. When life throws
yep,
something at you, take action, right? Don't
yes.
sit
That's right.
in your sadness and despair of
Mediocrity.
the mediocrity. Take some action, right?
Yeah,
Keep moving. We
that's
all
it.
have the same opportunities in life. We're all given these same opportunities in different ways. And so
Yes.
some people get different types of superpowers that they have, and just take action. If you take action, you'll find
Yeah.
a way. So
Yeah, man.
that's what I take
It's powerful.
from a lot of this story, man. I love that.
Mhm.
And I hope
I
our
think the
viewers and
action.
listeners are taking a lot of this in, you know?
Yeah, 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 that's to add on to that. I mean, the action part was faith, and faith is sometimes spelled RISK, but it has to be a managed risk,
Faith
a
and risk.
managed
Yep.
risk. So you kind of discern, well, if I go this way or that way. And for me, it wasn't my fault the subprime fell out, but I had to move into a
Yeah.
different industry. So 2 years of day trading.
Yep.
Pick that up for a while. That seems pretty
There you
easy.
go. Right?
And then the idea that we got Music City Roofers the same year the biggest hailstorm came, 2012, 2.5-inch hail hit Nashville.
Now, if you
So
would
I
have
picked it.
waited just for 1 month and felt sorry for yourself,
Exactly.
you would
You're right.
timing wouldn't have been there. Like,
No.
that's why taking action is so important, having that faith, right? I love that.
Yes.
So that happened right away. Okay, so, yeah, you didn't really know much about roofing. You start this roofing
You're
company
right.
a year or
I'm
2,
like, what does hail have to do with roofing?
right?
Well, it creates debts.
So this
So
2012 hailstorm helped you quite a bit then.
yeah, man. But I still was a one man guy, a one man show, because I didn't think about growing that big. I just wanted to make some money, enjoy my life on the farm, have animals, and my goal was to expand this property, put in a big garden, put in solar. Well, solar came later, a big lake with fishing, a motocross track, because I really love motocross. I picked that up in Vegas. So that had
Yeah,
to be there. A shooting range. Now we have a shooting range, four-wheeling, tree houses. We have 7 cabins in the woods. I wanted to develop this property because I'm Richfield. I got to have God, and Jeff means God's peace. So we have God's peace in a rich field.
there you go.
And that's what the place is. It's called Eagles Landing.
I love it. I love all of this, right? And your focus is life. It's this field, it's this rich field, it's Jeff, it's this
Yeah.
property, and it just so happens that
Yeah.
the means to get there is the roofing company. That's just
Yeah.
the tool that gets you there, the business. And so as you're
Yes.
growing this business, what would you attribute to that growth? Like, was it recruiting? Was it, I mean, I know all glory to God first, right? If it wasn't for
Oh,
him or faith
100%.
or your upbringing,
Oh,
but what decisions did you make to help, grow this business? Was it Yep,
yes, I had a spiritual mentor. His name was Oni Kirk, and he took me to the book of Proverbs. And thank God for him that every day you have a chance to read one of the 31 Proverbs because there's 31 days a month. And you
you know?
keep on revolving and revolving. And then I started to teach on that. That's on my knees. That's writing with a pen and paper. What ideas do I get when I'm looking at the word? And I write these little ideas. Go visit this guy today. Have you heard of this idea? And I would just write these things down, and my list would be 10 or 12. And I take that, put it onto my calendar, have my coffee, and just plan my day. And so I loved, empowering people. And so I decided to hire some salespeople, and my son James became my best salesman, of course. And then,
It's a pretty good
and then the
business.
dynamics of learning the business and learning how to scale from a one man show to getting all your legals in procedures correct. And then, depth over breadth rather than diluting our focus. We committed to fully to roofing, creating unmatched expertise, higher perceived value. And then we became the best brand in Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, with a name like that, right? How could you go bad?
Yeah, that's
So
good branding.
distinctive
That's
identity. Yeah.
good branding
Our
wins.
powerful. Right. And I remember slogans. Every year we'd have a new slogan. Our powerful, trustworthy brand was instantly recognizable, setting us apart from competitors, increasing our market worth. And since I was spiritual, I would actually pray for my clients in the morning. I'd ask, like Steve Patrick, he taught me, pray for your clients that the Lord would send you people because we pray for men, not things, because men carry the things that you look for. So when I prayed for things, it became disempowering. You pray for men, the right people, they have the things and the skills and the giftings to get you where you want to go. So just something there off the
Yeah,
top.
I love that.
But yeah, brand identity was huge. And then every year we'd have a cookout with our shirts on and who we are on the back of the shirt. You know, Music City Roofers, covering your home and family for life. We were heroes. And I set my guys up as heroes, had meetings with them weekly, heard their dreams, and I just prayed with them. And we created this culture of team excellence, building exceptional team, fostering resilient company and a good culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I hear one thing over and over again that in my head as you're saying all these things, and it's culture. Culture is going to attract
Yeah.
people. It's going to attract people, as in people to come work for you, people to work with you, and people to buy from you or allow you
Yeah.
to re-roof their properties. And again, it's like you go back to just traditional people that everybody follows and hears about, like your Steve Jobs. Like so many people will tell stories about Steve Jobs. There's a lot out there. Who knows what's truth
Yep.
nowadays, right? But you hear that
Yep.
he was never the greatest at this, that, or the other. But if he had one great skill, it was vision and leadership and getting everybody to buy into that culture. And
Yes.
that empowered all of the people that he had, right? He just had a lot of
Yes.
really good people around him that he somehow was able to grab this vision and lead them. So you're the visionary
Yeah.
leader that's motivating all of these people, creating this culture, bringing it all together and further expanding and growing and expanding and growing, not because for the love of money, maybe for the love of the land,
Come on,
you
man.
know,
Yeah, I love the people, man. Like consistent commitment to quality. My son was the integrator. I was a visionary, clean financial records. I mean, the reason why I was a perfect partnership with Fiesel is because we had this acquisition. We already been through it twice in error. So we knew how to get our story and our books and everything in a good package. And that's what I tell roofers today. What Roofers United is we have clean financials. So we have a fix your financials program. Then Jessica, my daughter, got involved in roofing 4 years ago. So she's involved with that coaching, and yeah, now we're doing an event in June.
So what
Aspire
all do we
Higher
have
Roofing Assist.
today? So you've exited your roofing company, and now we're
Yeah,
pretty much caught up, right? So you've exited your
yes.
roofing company, but that's almost what's transitioned you into a major entrepreneur and business owner, because
Mm.
now you're
Yeah.
involved in a lot of different things, right? I
Oh,
know one of the very powerful things, Roofers United, and you're helping roofing
yeah.
companies do what you did, do it faster, do it better, do it smarter through
Yep.
bookkeeping, through all that, and setting up
Yes.
events. And we definitely need to talk about that event. I know your daughter's
Oh, yeah.
business, Ignite, is an amazing business, but
Mhm.
what businesses are you involved in today, and how do you think
Sure.
those relate? Like making those successful, how does that relate to, again, roofing, investing, real
Yes.
estate, and music, like all of these different industries and these successes that you've seen?
Yes, it's followed me along the path, finding peace with money and be able to achieve these things. Now I just want to help people. I want to get out there and coach them and lift up people that are not, in the level that we are so that we can make it a better world. And so what that looks like is a purpose of wealth. So we're doing a purpose of wealth event in October. We're going to have some major speakers about money and finance and cryptocurrency, precious metals, real estate, Airbnb, and these other things we've got into. So when I sold the company, I did some traveling to find these passive income opportunities so we could not work all day and sleep at night and make money.
Yeah.
So we can then have a legacy, and retire. You don't ever retire. You just go from level to level.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I'll ever.
When your money starts making money for you, that's in my
That's it.
mind,
That's
definition of
it.
retirement. You're not trading your time for money anymore. It's your money's
Come
getting the
on.
money, right? Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
So,
and I've been blessed to get to know you more and more lately, thanks to Roofers United and this event that you're
yeah.
doing for that.
Mhm.
So for people that don't know, what exactly is Roofers United? What exactly do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, Roofers United, we are a consortium of some of the elite experts of the roofing industry so that we can take companies between, 5 million to say 25 million and get them to a place where they can scale, build, and grow. And then finally get their package ready, even if they don't want to sell. Have it ready in case you are, because you never know when there's some bomb can come in, like an accident or a stroke, like I had 8 years ago. I recovered from a stroke. You might have to be put in a position to sell your company. It may not be something you elect to do because you just want to retire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we come across those situations, divorce, things like that. So yeah, we want to get their financials cleaned up, help them to be ready positioned. And that is the biggest lacking area, is the finance of roofing, teaching those guys who are blue collar workers how to look at numbers. That's it.
Yeah, I've noticed you
So
kind of really keyed in on that. Is roofing companies, roofing owners really struggle with getting their financial records in line, and you do a lot of that. I've heard many people talk about how you've helped them and your company has helped them. So I know that's one of the many amazing things that you do. So you mentioned the event coming up. I'm excited. I get to. I'm blessed to join in on that event.
yes,
When is
yes,
that? Where is that? Tell me more about this event.
sure. Yeah. Aspire Higher Roofing Summit, Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. We're gonna doctor that up with some a free guitar giveaway, signed by a celebrity artist. We're gonna have some cowboy hats actually passed out with our logo on them.
There we
It's gonna be
go.
a fun time in Music City. And then we're gonna go through a day from 9 to 5 of learning how to pivot for prosperity, because we
Wow.
are in a new year. With that, there's new challenges, right? Inflation's here, prices are increasing. How do we move into a position where we can actually achieve a better profit margin than last year, right? It's going to be by the smart minds who have new ideas that can save you time, like AI. So we're going to teach about the AI roofing industry too. So excited about that. I mean, yeah, getting your hands around AI and branding is going to be key to success this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look AI, private equity,
Yep.
there's a lot of
Private
things
equity.
coming into our industry right now, and you better be
Yep.
prepared for all of them.
Yes.
One thing that I did not tell you about, which is probably my favorite thing that I like to do on these podcasts, I've got a little segment called Who is the Smartest Entrepreneur? Now in this segment, I'm going to ask you multiple choice questions. I don't know if you ever watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but it draws a lot of similarities to that. I asked you for your bio before we got started, not because I needed to get to know you, because I already am blessed enough to know you, but
Uh-huh.
because I needed to derive questions from your life, right? So
Okay.
speaking of AI, they help me derive these questions. So uh,
Nice.
I've got the questions here and they're ready to
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about this part. Um, so again, there's going to be 5 different questions. You have 2 lifelines. You get to use one of the 2 lifelines. It's phone a friend or 50-50. Um, and we will go ahead and get started with who wants, or not who wants to be a millionaire, but who is the smartest entrepreneur. All right.
Come on.
So are you
Let's
ready?
do it. Yeah.
All right. In what year was the modern asphalt shingle first introduced to the US? Is that
Whoa.
A 1890, B 1901, C 1907, or D 1925?
Can we just have three answers, not four?
This is a tough one, especially for your background, because at first thought,
Uh,
I could understand why it would ask this, but now that I know that you
yeah.
hadn't gotten into roofing until recently, that
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a tough one.
Yes. I'm going to go with number two.
You're gonna go with B 1901, just right off the
Yeah.
rip, just
Yeah.
you just feel called to do it. I
Great. Great idea to have these questions a little bit
love these questions.
gamified.
This part's fun, right?
Yeah.
So you got the first one wrong. The answer was 1907. But you were
Ah,
really close. You were the closest 2 answers. So,
yeah.
okay, this
Okay.
hopefully this next one will help you out a little bit. I think, and usually the AI gives everybody layups, except for Nick Perrette, my first guest. He's had some tough
Okay.
ones. Nashville is known as Music City, but which music genre did it originally become famous for? Is it A, rock, B, gospel, C, jazz, or D, country?
Gospel.
Gospel? Is that your final answer? You want to phone a friend?
The reason why I
Use
say
your
that is
50-50?
because, well, listen, let me tell you, the Gospel Union Tabernacle. Okay. That was a radio station.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay.
Final answer. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh, what?
It's country, actually. So it says it's D, country.
Well,
God,
I mean,
gospel's a good get. And gospel, I think gospel's early days was more country music anyway, right? When you go to early gospel, it's got
gospel
that.
was before. Yeah, it was like the 1800s. How did country come around before the 1800s? I don't know about that.
It's AI. It can't be wrong. It's not, I'm not
AI
guessing
can't be right.
anything.
All right, next one.
All right, next one. Here we go. Number 3. So remember, you got the
I
lifeline.
feel pretty dumb right
So, what percentage of small businesses in the US fail within the first 5 years? Is it A, 20%, C, 35%, or B, 35%, C, 50%, D, 65%?
Got to be 65%.
Got it. So you're thinking
Got to be.
closer to
I thought
65.
it was more.
Okay,
I thought it
is
was a
that
lot more.
and it's businesses, small businesses fail within the first 5 years. So you're thinking the answer is D, 65%. Is that your final answer?
When you say small business, could that be like that wouldn't be a
Anything.
Fortune 500 company?
It's small and medium-sized business, definitely not Fortune 500.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I think startups is what I think, but I'm not the AI that created the question, so I don't know what it would be,
Yeah.
you know?
What kind of prompt did you give it, Alan?
I gave it your bio. I gave it your website.
Oh, what? Okay, I'm gonna still go with the 65%. I think it's gonna be higher. No?
So that's 3 misses.
I can't believe you got me 3 all I got 3 wrong
It's
answers.
50%. So you were close again. You were close to
Okay.
both of these. You're going with your gut. You're shooting quick. You're getting real close.
Depends which AI,
Yeah, this one's
I'm feeling
chat.
pretty silly.
This one's ChatGPT. So
No,
okay,
you're good, you're good.
all right. Maybe the next two. Here we go. I think 5 you'll get. All right, but 4. Which of these entrepreneurs is credited with saying, "Success is not what you have, but who you are"? Did Elon Musk say that? Was that Bo Bennett? Was that Oprah Winfrey or was that Jeff Bezos?
I'm gonna go with Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey, you believe, said success is not in what you have, but who you are.
Yes,
That's your final answer.
I am. Yes. I can change it?
It
What's happening
was
here?
Bo Bennett.
Oh my god.
Bo Bennett said that.
I'm gonna walk to my tails between my legs.
You'll get the last one. All right. It gave you
All
one that I believe you'll get. Right. Okay. We'll try the last one. So
let's go.
in the Bible, which book is most commonly referenced when discussing business ethics? Is it Psalms? Is it Ecclesiastics? Is it Proverbs? Or is it Genesis?
Proverbs. 100% Proverbs.
100% Proverbs. Final answer.
Yes.
You got it.
Come on.
There we
Woo.
go. If you're
Boom.
gonna get
Well, hey,
one, at least you got the one about God in the Bible, right?
yeah, that's hilarious,
Oh,
man.
man.
Well, I mean, you could say Job 22 says, if thou to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up, then thou shalt lay up gold as dust.
Yeah,
You don't need God to prosper. That's what the world says.
yeah.
But Job reveals a different economy where intimacy precedes increase, where purity precedes prosperity, and when surrender is the soil where abundance
Love it.
grows.
Good thing Job wasn't one of
So,
the answers. You would have had a tough time then.
all right.
Oh,
But yeah, we need to know who we're aligned with is the one who gives the power to get wealth, and that's complete surrender in my
okay.
mind to him, to his will.
Love that. Well,
Yeah, man.
Jeff, I want to be conscious of your time and our viewers and listeners, and we're getting towards the end. So, I know we've got that event coming up. If anybody wants to
Yes.
be a part of that or be a part of Roofers United or just anything that you're doing, how do our viewers and listeners, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for asking. So I'd like to just tell people we got, email address, but roofersunited.org. It's Jeff at roofersunited.org. And then my wealth and prosperity is just jeffrichfield.com if you want to learn about the purpose of wealth. And it's not your job that brings the wealth. It's not the network. It's not your brilliance. It's whether your life is aligned with the one who gives the power to get wealth. So that's what we teach on every week down in Nashville at the Entrepreneur Center. But this has been an awesome time. And yeah, the event 620 Aspire Higher Roofers Summit
I
to
love it.
learn how to pivot and prosper.
I love
Looking
it.
forward to having you out here, man.
Well, one last question. Are you gonna be on the drums at the event?
That's a secret I will not tell you because you asked me the wrong questions.
All right. You gotta
When
come
you
to find
show up,
out
I'm
June
going to ask you
20th.
some questions.
June 20th. All right, Jeff. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, man.
Man, you're awesome, Alan. I just appreciate this time.